What's up everybody, this is Vanquish X and today I'm bringing you guys my review of The Legend of Tarzan. It's been a while since we've seen Tarzan in live action, the last film being in 1998 I think, and the last time we saw him was in that 2013 mocap animated thing, and we all saw how that turned out. Well, now we're here with David Yates' take on the character, and he takes it in a different direction than what we're used to. So in the story of The Legend of Tarzan, is that Tarzan is now civilized, he's walking on two legs, speaks proper English, sips tea with his pinky finger sticking out, lives in a giant mansion with his wife Jane, and is now known as Lord Greystoke. So right off the bat it feels very different to what we're used to from a Tarzan story, and he is called back into the jungle when a plan led by Christoph Waltz threatens to enslave the whole of the Congo so the Belgian king can get rich again, as the Congo is filled with diamonds. So Lord Greystoke has to tap into that primal nature of his, get back to his old self, and return to being the swinger on vines, screaming at the top of his lungs, badass hero of the jungle once again. And the way it was handled really surprised me. It's done in a way we haven't seen before in a Tarzan film. Well, for me anyway, and I like seeing it from a different perspective. Seeing him being civilized, being normal, and the struggle he goes through when the Call of the Wild calls him again. The warrior bringing his wife with him and trying to allow himself to slip back into his past nature is very interesting to see, and Alexander Skarsgard portrays that excellently. He just feels like Tarzan, a kind soul to humans and animals, struggling with being from two worlds, and Skarsgard just got that down in this movie. Also, that guy is huge. Whatever his workout regime was, damn is he buff in this movie, and that made the physicality more believable in this film. You could believe that he can swing on vines, fight animals twice his size. It just showed him as Tarzan, and he did very well on that part. Margot Robbie, who plays Jane, did a really good job of her character, and she's not the usual damsel in distress Jane we have seen in most renditions. She's snarky, tough, sarcastic when there's danger put in front of her. She brought a lot to the scenes she was in, and actually brought a lot of them to life. When it's a serious scene or Tarzan is being his normal brooding self, it sounds weird to say that someone else gave more to a scene than the main character did. Yeah, that feels really weird. Seeing Margot Robbie as Jane has made me even more excited to see her take as Harley Quinn, and seeing her in more films now has just elevated my anticipation for that role. I can't wait to see her in Suicide Squad, as she played Jane very well. Christoph Waltz is fine in this movie, he's just playing Christoph Waltz, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing. He's a delight to watch as these villain characters that he seems to be being typecast as now. Inglourious Bastards, James Bond, now this, and he brings certain habits, certain traits in these characters and the way he talks, moves, reacts to certain things. He felt very menacing in this movie and could actually feel very creepy at times. It was like, can you go away, you're freaking me out now, I don't want you to be near me now, please go away, go away. So he pulled off the villain excellently, like he always does, and I can't blame them for giving him this type of role, as he always knocks it out of the park. Lastly, I'm going to talk about Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson, you are absolutely brilliant in this film. He is the comic relief type character, and I didn't think he would be in this as much as he was. He's a big part in this film. He brought a lot of humour and fun to this movie. He just looks like he's having one hell of a time being in the jungle and discovering a new place, all the while carrying on with his own little mission to find evidence of slavery and mistreatment of the people of the Congo. He brought the fun that this film needed. Not saying it had to be laughs and good times all round, but I mean, it's Tarzan. He can swing through trees, basically talk to animals. All of that stuff can make for really fun moments. You don't always get that here, but that's where Samuel Jackson jumps in and brings comic relief when it is needed. If, say, a scene is dipping or is becoming less interesting, he's there to deliver a line or a quip, and he will bring new life into the scene again. And there is times where I absolutely burst out laughing because of his character, George Washington Williams I think he was called. He's by far one of the best parts of this film, and I'm glad elements of comic relief were weaved into this movie. When we talk about the CGI, it is really, really good for the most part. It's not Jungle Book level, but I don't think anything will be in that level for a long, long time without a shit ton of money. But for the most part, all looks believable and real, and there's a slight hiccup or time when it's obviously fake, such as when there is a close-up of an ostrich that looked out of place, but it held up for almost all of the movie, and it all blended together well when humans came in contact with the gorillas, lions, or whichever animal was on screen. That was seamless. Good CGI is a must to sell what's going on, and like I said before, it was very good and very believable, except for a slight fault here and there. The Congo jungle and surrounding area look absolutely amazing. It's very beautiful and realistic. It immersed you into the film and actually made you feel like you were there, and the whole thing looks stunning. And this can lead to some of the coolest moments, such as when he swings through the trees, jumping from vine to vine. All that stuff is brilliant. The action scenes when they happen in this are great, and the physicality of them is helped by Alexander Skarsgard being as buff as he is. It makes it believable and seem more likely that he's doing those things, like swing on vines, fight animals twice his size, especially when he has to fight his brother from the pack of gorillas that raised him. Akut, I think the gorilla was called, and it felt real. It was an awesome fight scene and is done very well considering he's fighting an all CGI character. There's lots of cool shots, such as the slow motion shot when they run at each other, which most of you would have seen in the trailers. Another fight scene is when Tarzan comes up against a leader of a tribe that has some beef with him, and that brought across a lot of the primal nature within him through his fighting style, and all the fight scenes are well choreographed and orchestrated when they happen, as it can take a bit for things to kick off, but when it does kick off, it is awesome to see. Lastly, what I'm going to talk about is that some things felt a bit rushed, like something would happen and it would be resolved very quickly, and you felt like, why didn't you stick with that a bit longer, flesh it out a bit, give it a better reason to be in the film, and that could happen for quite a few points in the movie, whereas some plot elements that could have been wrapped up at a quicker pace would get more time instead of the things that should have been the bigger elements of the film. For example, in the flashbacks that are placed throughout. These are to show you the origin story of how Tarzan met Jane, you know, the story we all know. When those flashbacks show up, they're really quite interesting and are all done very well, but not enough is given to them, and they are few and far between of each other. So when they look like a big part of the storytelling and you only get one very so often, it could take away from the power of the flashbacks, which are there to make you care more about these characters, and that could be said for other parts of the movie, such as the climax, which felt like there was more to it. A few more minutes could have been added to that to flesh it out, but again it feels slightly rushed. So, The Legend of Tarzan is a very different take on the story from what we normally see, starting with him being civilized and slowly letting his past self out, his primal instincts, and the story is handled very well, even though some elements felt rushed. Like the flashbacks, they didn't get nearly enough time to shine, but I'm glad the film wasn't another origin story, and the climax should have been longer. It just feels like there should have been more added to it than what we got. The characters are played well by their respective actors. Alexander Skarsgard gets the part of Lord Greystoke and Tarzan down. Margot Robbie is great as the non-damsel in distress Jane. Christoph Waltz is a delight to watch as the villain, and Samuel Jackson, who is one of the best parts of the film for me, is brilliant as the comic relief and the hit of fun in this movie. The CGI is really good for the most part. It all looks believable and real, even though it has a slight hiccup here and there. The action scenes are awesome when they happen, and the Congo and just the jungle and all that looks fantastic. For all of this, The Legend of Tarzan gets a 7.5 out of 10. Going into this, I didn't have much interest, but the film did surprise me, and I would say it's definitely worth the watch, especially if you're a big Tarzan fan. Well, that's it from me guys. If you liked the video, rock out on that like button, leave a comment and tell me your thoughts on The Legend of Tarzan if you have seen the film and if you agree with the points I've made and all that good stuff. Also, don't forget to subscribe as it does really help me out guys. So thank you guys so much for watching and stay tuned for the next video. Thank you.